go. Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. 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 Get 3. Ooh, 5 more. You got 5. Get 5 more. Get 5. All right, we're smashing shoulders today. Just finished dumbbell military press. Just finished my 5th working set, whatever you want to call it, of upright rows. I'm going to do a 6 set, a back down set. Listen, back down sets are huge. Obviously, you lighten the weight up. You can really focus on hitting the muscle, the movements intended for. It really focuses on form and whatnot, but I strongly suggest hitting back down sets in your workouts. Again, getting those extra sets in, getting those extra reps in, never hurts. So shoulders are working nice today, so feeling good. So I got a back down set here of some upright rows, and then we'll move into the next movement. Let's go, last set, come on. Get 10. Ooh. All right, just finished 6 sets of front raises with dumbbells. Increasing the volume a little bit today, so everything's been basically 6 sets. I am on my 5th set here of military barbell press, and I've attached some chains. So I got about 40 pounds of chains on each side, and the goal here is just making sure that I get a great range of motion. I'm not going extremely heavy, although again 40 pounds of chains on each side. But I'm emphasizing trying to get as much of the chain off the ground at the top of the lift. Obviously making it much more heavier at the top, but also activating stabilizer muscles. So as those chains come off the floor, they become loose and they start kind of swaying a little bit more as they come off the floor. So I'm trying to get them off the floor, not only for the weight at the top, but also to work on some stabilizers. And not necessarily stabilizing muscles as a focus for strength, but more or less for blood flow. It just forces you to activate everything and keep everything as tight as possible. And then, of course, the more you do that, the more blood flow into the muscle intended. And so that's kind of the overall goal here. So I'm on my 5th set. And these things, to be honest, have been pretty brutal. Nice kind of tempo with these, and just getting these reps in. Let's go get 3 more. Ooh. One. Last set, same thing. Ooh. Let's go get 3 more. All right, moving into behind the head barbell military press. I know I talked a little bit about this movement last week. It's one of my favorite movements. I love this movement. And I got a few comments in the sense of like, nobody does these anymore because of whatever reason, whether that's shoulder issues or there's better alternatives. To be honest, and with all due respect, there aren't any alternatives. There is nothing that there's nothing that I can think of right now that comes close to mimicking a behind the head military press. You can't do it. You can't hit the muscle with dumbbells. That would actually, if you even tried to get into that position or range of motion, that would definitely tear a shoulder off. So I can't really think of anything that mimics this. And the other thing is people that I think the masses, people, and why we don't see this anymore is because no one does it right. Again, the goal for me, this is how I've always emphasized this, is for literally in between the trap and the rear delt. That is my focus, in between the trap and the rear delt. I am not looking to flare way outside into the outside of the back of the shoulder for these. There's no point for that. So I think a lot of people do this wrong. The best way that I can kind of explain this movement, and hopefully this makes sense, but this is kind of how my mind works when it comes to this, is like if you're powerlifting and you're working a bench press, right? And your powerlifting bench press is a elbows tucked, more of a narrow range of motion, elbows tucked rather than elbows flared, using a lot of the tricep rather than the chest. And so I kind of mimic or take that philosophy of a powerlifting type bench, and I put it into this movement where actually I'm tucking the back of the shoulder, the rear delt, and the trap in this movement, and putting all of the emphasis kind of in the center of the kind of the upper back, right? So again, your traps, your rear delt area. So it's kind of like you're not trying to flare out and hit the outside of your shoulder. I think that would cause shoulder issues. So I don't think a lot of people do this right. And the focus, again, is the inside of the trap, the inside of the back of the shoulder towards the neck, kind of at the top, and really kind of emphasizing those muscles pushing the press in this motion. So, or in this movement. So I'm going to smash my 5th and 6th set, and that'll wrap up this shoulder workout. So let's get after this. Choo! Get 3! All right, going into my last set. I don't know if you saw when I went to rack it, I lost the chain. Good thing that did not happen during the movements, during the exercise. But I lost the chain over on that side. If you see it in the video, thank goodness I didn't lose it during the set. Chains can be funky. They're absolutely amazing accessory, but you definitely got to get used to them. You got to get used to setups and different things like that. But either way, here's my 6th set. And this will wrap up this shoulder workout, guys. So we will see you guys for the next lift. Woo! Let's go! Yep! 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 All right, just wrapped up a really good shoulder workout. I know I said I would see you guys for the next lift, so consider this some bonus footage or whatever you want to call it. I wanted to do a quick video. Every once in a while, I see a video on YouTube, and it kind of fascinates me, interests me. It not necessarily bothers me or triggers me in any certain way. It's just more or less interesting and fascinating. especially when someone who is extremely influencing and popular contradicts themselves, right? And so I always think it's important, especially as it kind of really brings us back to the Blood and Guts 2.0 channel, with which many of you guys know all the philosophies about this channel. And again, when I look at something like this, where an influencer at a certain level, a certain caliber of influencing, with a PhD and again a career in exercise science and all of that, and when they contradict themselves, I find it very fascinating and interesting. So I like to react to it and do a video on it. So we have here from Dr. Mike his most recent video in which he talks about essentially less is more. So essentially, you can put less into the gym and get more out of it to some degree. And so I want to break this video down and react to it. And I'm going to react to only certain points in the video. He has 6 points, but I'm only going to react to several of them, and we'll walk through those obviously when we get to that. But before we do that, I wanted to preface I want you guys to keep something in mind as we go through this reaction video. 2 things. Number 1, I want you to keep in mind that Dr. Mike has time and time again bashed certain lifting philosophies. The one that sticks out the most to me is Mike Mentzer. And the reason why I picked Mike Mentzer in this topic, that I've heard him talk negatively about Mike Mentzer's training, several times, is because what he's talking about, and this is my own personal opinion, what he's talking about in this video to some degree contradicts what he's talked about and dismantled about Mike Mentzer's training. Mike Mentzer's training, obviously in my eyes, not only really kind of relates to exactly what Dr. Mike is preaching in this video. Yet at the same time, he bashes Mike Mentzer's type of training. And Mike Mentzer's training, again, I believe correlates with what we're talking about here, in the sense that Mike Mentzer was a firm believer in doing very, very, very little sets. I mean, 1 set per muscle group, literally, in some of his workouts, but absolutely heavy and to failure, right? So, 1 set of bicep curls, dumbbell curls, or barbell curls, whatever, would be 1 set, but extremely heavy, all the way to failure, and then move on to the next exercise, right? Less is more. And he benefited from it, and he gained from it. Dr. Mike contradicts and or dismantles Mike Mentzer's training in several videos, yet comes out with a video that again contradicts his dismantling of Mike Mentzer when he comes out with a video like this. So there's the 1 point. The second point, and again, this may be in left field for you guys, but for some reason, the second thing that I want you to keep in mind as we walk through this video, which again, like I said, it kind of relates to me, but it might be in left field for you, is this type of video, in my eyes, is the same kind of philosophy and approach and influence as like a Planet Fitness influence. This video is trying to appeal to the masses for whatever gain Dr. Mike is trying to get out of it. Views maybe. And the video up until this point has over 250,000 views in the last 19 hours. So again, genius in what he's doing, but at the same time, he's influencing the masses, because this video does not pinpoint specific populations. This is, again, a Planet Fitness manipulation ploy video, just like Planet Fitness does for the masses. Gets people to buy memberships knowing that people aren't going to go to the gym. This is judgment-free zone, and, everyone can do it, and, whatever. But then, someone buys a membership for $10 a month because it's great. Planet Fitness's full manipulation is they know those people aren't going to go, but they got your money, right? Same kind of concept here, in the sense that this is trying to appeal to the masses that really don't understand the true philosophies and foundations of training, okay? So I want you to hold on to those two kind of reminders and or keep those in the back of your head as we walk through this video. So let's get started on this and see what Dr. Mike has to say.
What are the principles that allow you to get the most from the least? If you have short time to train, but you want big results, what do you do?
All right, so we're going to talk about, I think he has 6 principles. We're only going to hit a few of them, but we're essentially going to talk about the 6 principles, 6 principles programming that evolve around individuals that don't have a lot of time and need to get in the gym and out really fast, but get the best kind of benefit for their whatever, right? So trying to get the best out of it, but in the shortest amount of time possible when it comes to training. So we're going to jump into the first principle that he brings up in the topic.
Ditch any lift that requires long warm-ups. If you deadlift and you're strong and you can pull 5 plates for reps and you have to take your time in warm-ups, which is a good idea for something like deadlift, you're going to be deadlifting for 30 fucking minutes until you actually do your first work set. You want a short workout that really crushes your muscles, gets you muscle growth? Nothing that requires long warm-ups is possible anymore.
Okay, right off the bat, first contradiction, first very confusing principle. Why is it contradicting and why is it confusing? If you are an individual who is deadlifting 500 pounds for reps, you are not following any of these 6 principles. So number 1, the contradiction off of his first principle is utilizing example of someone who deadlifts 500 pounds for reps. If you are somebody that deadlifts 500 pounds for reps, you have the time, you've made the time, and you put the time in to get to that point. So the whole concept of loading plates on doesn't even place a certain spot in your brain, right? If you are somebody who deadlifts 500 pounds for reps, you are not following these 6 principles. You have put a lot of time in, you've made the time to be in the gym, and you understand how much time you need in order to get to that level of lifting. So right off the bat, it's a contradiction of who he's actually preaching to. Because he's not talking to people that deadlift 500 pounds for reps. They wouldn't even, this doesn't even fit and register in their brain. So that's the first contradiction that I wanted to hit. Again, someone who's deadlifting like that does not care how long it takes to put plates on. I can promise you that. A person who's deadlifting 500 pounds for reps is not following the 6 principles of less time is more, right? I can guarantee you that. So there is the first contradiction right off the bat, that this video is clearly manipulating the masses, because somebody watching this video who deadlifts 500 pounds for reps, to be honest, is going to laugh at what Dr. Mike just said. Because if you, now yes, maybe there is a small 1%, 99 out of 99% of the time, maybe there's 1% of the time that you have to get in the gym, and you're a 500 pound deadlifter for reps, that you have to get in the gym really, really, really fast and get in and out. That's probably literally 1% of your whole training life is a time when you got to get in and out and you don't have the time to load up, then you got to get something done. But you're advanced enough, right? If you're deadlifting 500 pounds for reps, you're advanced enough as a lifter to know that you can get through a workout really fast and smash it, right? Because you know that. Now, you're an advanced lifter at that point. So, again, this is not talking to individuals that are deadlifting 500 pounds for reps. So, there's the first contradiction. So, let's jump into another one of Dr. Mike's
Point number 4. Low RIR is the way. Insert as many Mandalorian memes as you like into this conversation. Low RIR means what? Very few reps in reserve. We're talking about 1 rep in reserve, 0 reps in reserve, or all the way to psychotic failure. You don't have a lot of time in the gym, and you're not worried about fatigue because you don't train that often. you're going to want every set to be as effective as possible because you don't have to worry about fatigue accumulating over the weeks and weeks because you just don't train enough to actually have that happen much.
Okay. His principle number 4. Like I said, I told you we're not going to go through all of them. I'm just hitting a few of these. Principle number 4 is, in order for you to have less time and get more out of it, one of the principles is to absolutely go to extreme failure, psychotic failure, okay? Psychotic failure to extreme failure, right? No reserve left, nothing left, okay? Contradictions in this. I think I have 2 of them. The first contradiction is if you are somebody, let's take it literal, that goes to psychotic failure, you are somebody that knows the gym and understands the gym. And again, it's the same point I made with the first point, talking about a person who deadlifts 500 pounds for reps. Here's the same point I'm making here. If you are somebody that understands no reserve, no ability to do another rep, psychotic failure, if you're somebody that understands this principle of psychotic failure, no reps left in reserve, you are someone who is advanced and have put the time in, not 30 minutes, not twice a week. You put the time in to understand what psychotic failure means. If I am somebody watching this video and I am, again, as I said, getting manipulated by the thumbnail to get views, I am going to think as a new person that, oh wow, just like we are in the world today, everybody wants a microwave dinner, everybody wants to stop at a fast food restaurant, everybody wants what's easy for them, right? What is it, 6-minute abs, right? That whole concept. Same principle here, to sell to the masses, because if you are somebody who understands psychotic failure, let's get literal, psychotic failure, no reps left in reserve, then you are someone who's advanced, put a lot more time in the gym than just a half an hour, and more than 2 days a week, to understand what that even really means when we talk about training. So again, another contradiction to what this does not make any sense. Who is he really talking to? He's not talking to the advanced lifter who understands psychotic failure and what it takes to go there, right? Yes, again, same as I talked about someone who deadlifts 500 pounds for reps. Yes, again, if you maybe that 1% of time where you don't have the time, you're rushing, you got to get something in, maybe you have to do what we're talking about here. But same point in the sense of this person or the psychotic failure, if you put the time in, you understand what that means and can actually utilize these principles. But without putting the time in to understand the couple principles that we talked about already, the 500-pound deadlifter for reps first talk, and then now this, the psychotic failure talk, you would put time in to understand those 2 concepts, those 2 so-called principles. So you can get something out of it. But it's not how you train all the time. It's just those certain things that happen in life, and you got to get a training session in. But an advanced lifter and or someone who's watching this, who understands the concept, would say, if I'm going to no reps in reserve or to psychotic failure, then I better sure know as hell how to train. If you are someone brand new, you do not know what psychotic failure means. So you're going to watch this and say, I can go in the gym not knowing what I'm doing, do what this person's saying because I want to do minimal. I don't have the time, so-called time. Everybody's got the time. You don't have the time to do it. So, whoa, this is great. I can get a workout done in 30 minutes. I'm going to go to psychotic failure. You don't even know what that means. You don't know what that means without putting the time in. So again, there's the other contradiction. So there's the other point that I wanted to make.
It's really good.
So let's jump into another one.
Next, when you're choosing the structure of your program, can you do set, rest, set, rest, set? Yes, but you're resting a lot, and that's pissing away a lot of time. What you can do is reduce the hypertrophy stimulus in any one set a little bit by, instead of resting, you do an antagonist or unrelated superset during that time. Here's an example. Close grip bench, rack. Walk over to pull-ups, underhead pull-ups. Wait 30 seconds till you're back to breathing normally-ish, because it's a rapid, you don't want it too normal, and roll right back to benches. So it's muscles that you aren't using in one lift, you use them in the other lift, and you stack them one after another, one after another, one after another. What ends up happening is while one muscle is recovering, the other muscle is being trained, and so on and so forth. You can take 30-second breaks or minute breaks between the supersets, or even 10-second breaks, or even no breaks at all if you're really in good cardio shape. That gives you a double whammy of fucking kind of a ball of cardio stimulus, because if you're minimalist training, you probably don't have time to do your own cardio. And it gives you a really good hypertrophy stimulus. Now, would you grow more if you rested properly? Yes. But
okay. Other point here. This one's really simple for me. This one won't cause a little rant at all. Just a contradiction right off the bat. First says that there's no rest in between, yet there is rest in between. And a superset is literally one giant set. So I don't think he's contradicting that statement. But the contradiction that he's saying is that in between the supersets, you rest 30 seconds, 10 seconds, or a minute. Okay. So number one, again, same principle as the other, same kind of talk as the other one. In order to understand that, you've done some training and you've obviously had the time to put into the gym. What would change? I don't know. Life can change, but you should still have the time if you've already put the time in to even understand this principle. And then number two, he's saying, less rest, but at the same time, there is rest. And you can have 30 seconds, you can have maybe up to 45 to a minute, or you can be a real baller and not have any rest. Well, if you're a real baller and not having any rest, you better have put in a lot more time to be in that condition to do it. And in order to adapt to that type of stimulus, what he's talking about, this is the whole foundation of what I'm talking about, is you have to almost be advanced to understand these concepts. And in order to be advanced, you must have put the time in to get to that point. So these principles might fit in those certain moments in life where you really have to get a fast workout in. But what we're talking about, in order to even understand these concepts, is you have to have been able to put the time in first. So the time is there. To even understand these concepts, you've already put the time in. So you do have the time. And you understand for yourself to even understand these principles, that you put yourself in those moments and have put the time in to understand these principles, to understand what a superset means and how much rest you need in between and how in shape you are. Again, if you aren't in shape, your workouts, this principles don't even work for you. There's nobody that is non-advanced, a beginner, who's in shape enough to start doing supersets that can make a workout last 30 minutes. How does somebody who is not advanced and or at least kind of moderate understand these principles? Again, this is manipulation. This is appealing. This is a thumbnail to appeal to the masses. Again, this is what Blood and Guts 2.0 is avoiding at all costs. Again, this is trying to influence and lie to the masses. You cannot understand these principles without putting the time in. Right? Who in their right mind as a beginner or someone who doesn't have the time to get to this point to understand what supersetting means, what drop sets mean, how is this even making any sense? Again, I might be rambling and I may not even make sense to you guys, but in my head I do make sense for myself, and I guess that's all that matters. But here again is another principle of number one is, how do you even understand what supersets are and what they can do for you if you don't put the time in and or have the time to get to that point? And then number two, he's contradicting himself in the sense that he's talking about no rest at one point and then talking about rest in another, right? So it's, in between sets you have 30-second rest, he says it, or in between whatever it is, there's rest. And if you're really, really a baller, then you can do it with no rest. But I would say, and counter that with, if you're doing supersets with no rest, or doing, consistent, or, superset after superset after superset. Remember what a superset is. It's one giant set of two different lifts, right? So you go right into the next lift on a superset. There's really no rest in between. It's one giant set. It's not like for me. It's not like, if I'm doing dumbbell bench, right? I'm not going to do 4 reps, then take 30 seconds, and then do 4 more reps, and then call that set 1. No, I'm going to do one giant set and call that set 1. I'm going to do 15 reps of dumbbell bench, right? Same thing, same philosophy with a superset, is that you do the first lift and go right into the next lift with no rest at all, because it's one giant set. So there's contradiction in what he's talking about here. So there's the other point I wanted to make.
Things like myo reps, where you do a bunch of curls, rest for 5-10 seconds, do much more, rest for 5-10 seconds, do as many as you can, rack, and then switch to tricep extensions. Those myo rep sets and drop sets, so if you're doing cable curls, you do 100, go to failure, clank down, 80, failure, 60, failure, and then go to tricep pushdowns. Those kinds of myo reps and drop sets, anything that can condense the amount of work you do, minimizing the rest time, and keeping you closer to failure, and thus in that hypertrophy zone, that's really good stuff. So these 6 points, screenshot that shit, remember it, and when you're designing a program for your clients or for yourself that is rapid fire, a decent amount of hypertrophy stimulus in a very short time, if you stick to these principles, man, you can't go wrong.
Okay, last, and to kind of wrap this up, as you saw, principle number 6. This one's a big contradiction, and I don't really understand this last one. So, talking about myo-rep, whatever scientific jargon he's using to make it sound better. The reality is that, again, let's use the example, the cable curls. So you do, a set, and then wait 5-10 seconds, and then do another set, and then wait 5 seconds and do another set. That's a drop set, not a back down set. Okay? That's very important to understand. One is a drop set, and then there's something called a back down set. All right? So the contradiction here is, and I don't really know if he's talking about, doing that type of drop set, right? So doing a bunch of curls, waiting 5-10 seconds, doing another bunch of curls, then waiting 5-10 seconds, and then doing another bunch of curls. If it's a drop set, then it's one set, which means you're more than likely going to do, well, we know old school wise, you're going to do more sets. Now, if you're doing one big drop set and that's it, so you're doing one set. So in this principle, what I'm getting out of this is that I think you're only doing one set. You're doing one big drop set, and that's it for biceps. Then you move over to triceps. So that's what I think, but again, that's the contradiction. That's the point I'm trying to make here, is that if it's a drop set, that's one set, a drop set. So you're a set, and a drop set is literally doing a drop set in one whole set. So let's say your first set is a drop set, or let's say your 5th set is a drop set. Your 5th set is a drop set of exactly what he's talking about, or your first set's a drop set of exactly what he's talking about. So let's take dumbbell curls. If I'm doing a drop set for one of my sets, I would do exactly what it is. I would do a set of 50 dumbbell curls, drop set down to a set of 40s, drop set down to a set of 30s, but that would be set number 1, right? I would consider doing 4 more sets. Now, I may change the set from not doing a drop set or do all drop sets, whatever, but it becomes one set. A drop set's a set. So if that's what he's saying, you're doing only one set of a drop set, so you're having 5 to 10 second rest in between that. To me, a drop set is not any rest in between. It's right into the next one. So there's the contradiction with rest time. And then the second thing, does that mean that that curls for this example, the cable curls he's talking about, is are biceps done and then you do triceps and then you're done? I don't understand that. So that doesn't, there's no clarity on that. And then as you heard, as I just said, there's a big difference between drop sets and a back down set. Drop sets are what I just explained, and a back down set is a separate set of a lighter weight of the same movement, right? So there's a big difference. What he's talking about is not back down sets. If you're doing a back down set, okay, it's you know, your first set, let's say your fourth set was 100-pound dumbbells. Your fifth set would be a back down set of 80-pound dumbbells, right? So you'd have a small rest in between, and then your fifth set would be a back down set of 80 instead of 100 pounds. This is clearly a drop set type of, I think, movement when he talks about the curls with 10-second rest in between and then going down and then just keep going constantly to failure. And to understand failure, you better put the time in to understand that. So again, here's another contradiction of what principle are you talking about? Yes, I got to give him some benefit of the doubt. He does go later on in the video and kind of break the program down a little bit more and kind of give more insight to, like, you know, the 2-a-days if you're working out twice a day, or if you're working out twice a week, you know, for half an hour each time, which is, I can't even process that. I'm sorry, I'll probably get some pushback that, yeah, you can do it in 2 days a week for only a half an hour. I can't process that. But he does break it down a little bit more, so I do got to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But as far as the principles go, and the ones that I just talked about, there's tons of contradiction. They don't make a lot of sense. And to be honest, it's influencing the masses who I truly believe, again, he's trying to manipulate to get more attention on the fact that you can do less is more. It's the same kind of philosophy as the Planet Fitness kind of philosophy. It's the same philosophy as the old school 6-minute abs. We all know 6-minute abs, right? One of the biggest and most manipulative cells that have been out there in history is the 6-minute abs and 8-minute abs and all of that. Same concept. Or the magic pill that helps you lose weight, right? Again, these concepts, although sound very smart, when put into practice, because of all the points I just made about the contradictions, because you can't put these principles into practice if you have not put the time in. So there's the major contradiction, and I'm going to end the video right there. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys for the next lift.